Hi everyone. As I said, this is the Absolute Business Mindset podcast. So today it's a big reveal. I wanted to talk to you guys about this for some time, but there's been a few discussions. So wanted to tell you that my corporate job, which I am a corporate employee with an entrepreneurial mindset, that has now been finished. I have finished at my current employer and am moving to another employer. So this was the big reveal. I wanted to share it with everyone. You guys have followed me and listened to my comments, my thoughts, ideas and comments, and so I wanted to make a bit of a deep dive into the situation I found myself in, leaving my role and how I found the other job. So this is going to be a bit of a description of the role, the new role, why I chose certain aspects of the situation I found myself in and why I chose to leave. So starting off, so I left my role earlier this week, handed my resignation letter in. Obviously, I would suggest everyone who's in that situation to have a job before you leave. In some cases, you don't do that, but I would say in 99% cases, being against making those sorts of rash judgments, I would say always find something else before you leave. I had been at my company for 12 years, about 6 years as an administrator, which I talked about in my first podcast quite some time ago, and then about 5 or 6 years as a consultant within the technology team. So I think I've done my dues. I think 12 years at one company is a long time. Lots of people that I've met throughout the period have moved on. There still are the people that are in the company that have been in their 20, 30, maybe a little bit more years. And I must admit, for a long time, I thought I probably was going to be a lifer. I was going to work there for all of my career. I suppose things slightly changed in the last 2 years, maybe 18 months or so. Certain critical factors in the business changed. Personnel, structure, and I thought that if I was going to leave, then it probably was now. I probably have been looking for about 9 months or so, on and off. I had 2 interviews with a software company. I had 2 interviews with another consultancy company, another Big Four company, which wasn't suited to what I was looking for. And so I'm moving from one Big Four to another Big Four. If you really want to find out where I'm working, you probably can find that out. But I'm not going to divulge the actual name of the companies for this on this podcast. So I'd learned a lot from working in the company. I'd worked as an administrator. I'd worked hard. It's one of those jobs you work hard rather than wisely, or. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot about business. I learned a lot about relationships. I learned a lot about networking, building relationships. My business is all about relationships, so you need to create good reputation internally and externally. In a way, I've sort of grown up in that company. I joined that company when I was 28, 20, 27, 26, 26, maybe 26, 27, 38 now. And so in a lot of ways, I grew up in the company, but also grew up with my wife in that company. So lots of conversations with my wife about whether I should move or stay. And there was lots of views, and we really broke it down. There was one very intense evening where we just bounced around. I could do this, I could do that. What would that mean? Where do I go with that? And it's been a hard decision. It has been a hard decision. It's not something I've taken lightly. It's not something I've taken just a rash decision. It took from the offer about 2 weeks. People at my company where I currently am or resigned from, they wanted to keep me, and so they worked quite hard to keep me. So it really put me in a situation where I found myself in the situation where I was making a choice not for a career move, but for a life move. I felt I needed to move to another company. I felt I needed to be at a different atmosphere. So they were the reasons I had, and I explained that to my company, and they've been very good about it, understanding. So just to recap, so worked there a long time, lots of colleagues, lots of alumni, some I stay in contact with, some I don't, lots of experiences with clients and with product development, and being a consultant. So at the company that I've just resigned from, there's a lot of good things to say about the company, and I'm not going to sit here and criticise, because I've got no reason to criticise. I think one of the things I found was line managers, career coaches, whatever they're called. You get good ones and bad ones. Sometimes you get delivered a bad deal, which I was. I've not got into a lot of detail, but there was one situation where I had a really bad career coach, mentor. It wasn't really a mentor. It's more like a line manager at this place. And that is the worst experience you can have, is having a bad line manager. In a line manager, you've got to have someone fighting your corner, believing in you, mentoring you, helping you, molding you. There's a lot they can do, and in some cases, sadly, a lot of people don't do. But not doing anything is actually not as bad as you think. From my experience, you've got to push yourself forward. You've got to put yourself in situations where you demonstrate capabilities, being good at your job, and so therefore a neutral line manager you can get by with, as long as they're on the moderation conversation, they are fighting your corner. It doesn't really matter if they are a neutral or anything. The negative ones, the ones that distract you from your own thought processes or what you need to develop, is a really, really troubled situation. So I've had good coaches, I've had bad coaches. The good ones, the person that helped me move from an admin to a consultant, eternally grateful for her. She's great, and still see her. She's a lifer, and still got a lot of time for her. I think being somewhere for 12 years, you're gonna have good experiences and bad experiences. People being supportive, people not being supportive, people. It was never really double crossing you. You didn't ever feel like. You felt people had angles, people had views, people had biases, but from my experience, there was no one that was actually against you. So, as I said, I'm not going to sit here and criticise the company. I've got a lot of respect and a lot of time for the people that are there, so I'm looking forward to the new role. It is equally exciting and a little bit scary, being in the same company for such a long time, meeting new people and sort of, I had a lot of status, a lot of reputation at my company. Moving to a new one, I've got to do all of that from scratch, which is exciting. It gives me an opportunity to meet new people and be put into situations where I can design the relationships. I'm going to spend some time on analysing the situation, understanding the situation with my mentor, and we will be working hard in the first few months to get that up to speed, understand people, break people down, break situations down, break projects down, so I can best position myself for success. So the exciting bit is new, which I think anyone that's moved jobs recently, or anyone that's moved job in the last 6 months, probably understand that excitement. As I just mentioned a little bit earlier on, it's a little bit scary in that you're exposing yourself to a new dynamic, a new set of people. And although I met them in interview and met the partner twice, and he was really, really good. I really got on with him and got on with the people. You never really know. It's the unknown, and a lot of people are very fearful of the unknown, and that's why some people never leave. Well, there's lots of reasons why people never leave, but one of them is being fearful of that new experience. But one of the good things about the move that I've made is, yes, new people, yes, new environment, new culture, but the product which I'm working on is the equivalent in this new Big Four company. So that is all good. That means I'll get in some of the new, but I have some familiarity as well. I think that's why I did so well in the interviews, was because I just knew my stuff. I'd been doing this for 5 years, probably 5 years, and I knew the subject, I knew the area, I knew the business, I knew the technology, I knew the clients, could talk like sensibly and capably about all of those things. So yeah, that's one of the nice steps about it is moving to another Big Four is that it's basically the same product. Now, equally, the partner, when I spoke to him individually, he said a lot of differences. We will see, maybe I'll talk about it at a later stage. Bigger clients is basically the message I was given. He's probably in the best position to be able to give me that view, but obviously maybe a little bit of bias from him, but I would imagine that it's right. So as I say, different people, different culture, start my network all over again. Obviously there's people that have left my company and I've stayed in contact with them. Equally, building that network all over again. One of the familiarity and one of the safety nets that I had was I almost knew everyone that needed to be spoken to and link these people together in your network for 12 years. That's going to be a bit scary, a bit good, a bit exciting, meeting all those people, introducing myself, making a good impression. So all good. I also spoke to some alumni from my company who had moved to the same company, and there seemed to be a general feeling that it's a good company, a little bit more people focused rather than revenue or profitability focused, which never initially made me think that was what the company that I worked for, but I suppose reviewing that, thinking about that, yeah, it's a big deal. So we'll see. The partner did say that one of the things that their challenges is a lack of commerciality, which is a little bit worrying, but it gives me an angle, gives me something that I can sort of promote in my new job and my new capabilities, that I can be commercial, I can be thoughtful on business, and so looking forward to that big time. So I just wanted to think about the thought process of leaving and how you come to those sorts of situations and those sorts of. So the search, as I said, was quite extensive. You have to go through the sort of job search and it's an endless, thankless in many occasions task. You can never really tell how far you get in with these things until interviews start coming. I would say that it's kind of a job in a job. So I had to keep my job going, had to keep my my push for promotion, which, as I said about the life choice, I've slightly taken a sort of step. Probably will take me longer to get to the next promotion than if I'd stayed. But I need to be, I want to be thought of as someone that's not just a one-trick pony. Now, there's no criticism against anyone who works for one company and feels very comfortable. I was talking to a relative not so long ago, and she has worked in the same company for 28 years. And she said she actually said to me when I was talking to her about the situation before I'd actually resigned, go. And I thought that was really interesting because she was in a similar situation, and she said, you might have a regret. And one of the things, so when you listen to Gary V, Rob Moore, and they've given you these motivational speeches, one of the things that I always heard was no regrets. And that's kind of stuck with me, and that makes me feel that I think you kind of need to push yourself outside the comfort zone. One of the things I loved about my job was that I felt I was outside my comfort zone on a regular basis. Some of them I've talked about on this podcast, but probably for the last, it's difficult to say, but under 12 months, but 9 months or so, I kind of felt I haven't been put outside my comfort zone for quite some time. And one of the things the partner that I met at the new company said, what do you want to be remembered for? And that was an interesting, it was kind of like a no regrets sort of thought process. What do I want to be remembered for? And then you start thinking about, well, like, who's going to remember me? And I never really delved much into it. I'm sort of having this thought process while I'm talking to you now, but who are going to remember me? So obviously I want my family, my friends to remember me. But then you think your colleagues, how you want to be remembered by them. So you want to be remembered that you're good, you're solid, you're professional, you can deliver. I've noticed through the years, some people in my company, more so than others, always like to bash people who have left. That's probably a bit of a negative. He's been in the company for a very, 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 very long time, more than me, and I think that's a sad state of affairs, because I think you're just bashing people just for the sake of it. If you can't bash people when in their person and telling them that they've got something to develop on, or they're not, then don't just do it behind someone's back. That's not a nice way to be. But then you think, well, I'm only going to be remembered by people at one company. You might have good standing, good respect, good status, good reputation, but there is bigger than just one company. There's always something bigger than just one company. And I think I wanted my friends and family to think of me as businesslike, professional, good at my job. But equally, the whole point is, I've said this once before, like not being a one-trick pony, not being able to just play on one way. And what was going through my head, which is a really, I don't know. I've got a couple of examples from Formula One. Watch a bit of Formula One, but I kind of thought of a sort of Lewis Hamilton going from McLaren to Mercedes, and that move was incredible for Lewis Hamilton. Daniel Ricciardo's just done that recently from Red Bull, very comfortable in Red Bull, moving to Renault. Who's to say where he'll end up with Renault? And so I thought to myself that I wanted to be remembered for something more than just one company. And that's been a big thing for me. And as I said, like purely on a like one of the partners at my current company that I've just resigned from said you should leave after you get promoted. But I was unsure about that, because who's to say whether it takes me 6 months or so to get promoted? Who's to say that job at this other company will still be there? Who knows? It's taken a chance. I think they were coming from a slightly biased point of view. They thought if they could delay it, the chances are that the move wouldn't happen. And they had their own biases. There is going to be a bit of a gap in my company. Not arrogantly, but just I've been there a long time, and people rely on me, and new people rely on me for knowledge and shared experiences. So, let alone the actual job that I did. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But just on that remembered no regrets thing, I wanted people to think of me. I've not taken any major risks. Flirted with a couple of risk-taking situations, but a family choices made that a non-go. So I wanted to take a bit of a risk. Like, why shouldn't I? And this is one of those sorts of risk situations that is controlled because it's the same product in a different company. So in my current role that I'm leaving, I was more product development, so a lot of agile methodology. I've talked about agile on this podcast, and hopefully you got some things from that. The interesting thing is the role that I'll be moving to will be more client-facing. Now, he said to me, the partner that owned my new company, said, I think you're wasted in product development. I think you're good in front of people, you're engaging, you can talk to people, you can bring people along a journey and a conversation. He said he doesn't see any necessity to sort of hide me behind a product development. Now, my company that I'm leaving from had a particular need, and often in corporations you evolve into a role. It's not necessarily that you design it, and so that evolved into a role, into a product development, or something which was quite interesting. It went well. I worked well with people in the company, and it sort of developed into a really nice role. But I actually think client-facing will be tougher, will be challenging, will be good. So in all of that, it will be good as well. And so client-facing stuff is something that is... then the thing is about client-facing stuff is like the client always demands everything, and if you're a service provider, whether you're working for a consultancy business or whether you're working in a restaurant and service industry, you know that clients can be complete a-holes. Life, that's the nuts and bolts of it. But the thing about client-facing is you have to think on your toes, you have to develop knowledge. What they want to train me on is more sort of tax knowledge, equity knowledge, as this is an equity calculator. So there will be an upskilling period. The client stuff, I feel comfortable. I sit here and talk to you guys, though you're not clients in the same way. I suppose you are clients in a way, but it's something that excites me quite a bit. I do love doing a demo and doing client-facing stuff. I have a number of clients currently, but it will be interesting doing demos, talking about the product. Will be quite exciting and challenging and outside my comfort zone. This is my thing, to get outside your comfort zone. If you've been in a job for a long time, even if you haven't, if in your job, now, I would say it's good to get outside your comfort zone once a month. Now, you might hear that and go, oh my God, I've been in, making it up, payroll for 10 years. I love the familiarity. I love the people. I love doing things that I know how to do. Well, slightly boring. The familiarity breeds contempt, is one of the sayings. And I think you do have to be careful of that, because things can get too easy, get too comfortable, get too samey, and I think probably, as I said, it was a life choice rather than a career choice. I think the fact of being outside my comfort zone excited me quite a lot, and talking to people, relationship building. Although a lot of the stuff I was doing was internal relationship building, hopefully this will be more external stuff. I can impress. Bit of a rubbish word way to describe it, but impress your boss, impress your clients, deliver, and it's going to be exciting. I really look forward to it. Spoken to a number of people, friends and family, about this, and a lot. The general feel is you're right to move. It's your time to move. They don't know the ins and outs of what was offered, what wasn't offered, etc. But a lot of people felt that it was a right move, and I'm glad I made it now. got a pay rise, helps, obviously. Going to be trained, helps, obviously. Liked the people I met, obviously helped as well. Partner seemed to be switched on and engaged and moving the product in a good way forward. All good. So as I said, I'm going to learn a little bit of the tax. I'm not going to be a tax professional. They said if I want to be tax qualified, I can do. I'm not. I sort of see myself still in technology. The tax stuff will make me a more rounded, better employee and client-facing person. I don't see any particular need to rush into doing tax. I was offered it quite a few years ago, probably in the first couple of years when I was at my first company. And I chose not to do it, and I kind of have a regret about that, although it would have been very hard and very challenging. Who knows if my relationship would have lasted with it, with my now wife. So much could have changed and happened if I'd have taken that choice. Sort of sliding doors, where would I have been now? I wouldn't have probably been in technology, would have been in tax. Would that be where I wanted to be? Who knows? But one of the things that I feel is no regrets, as I've said a few times now. And I kind of feel I made the wrong choice at that stage and probably should have been, as a 27-year-old, taking my tax exams was probably a sensible move. Taking me longer as an experienced hire, moving around, getting to the right team, getting the right skills, getting knowledge. But I think I didn't want to regret this one, and I thought I might. And I thought you need to be bold, you need to be strong, you need to be motivated, all those things which I am. Mindset. This is called the Absolute Business Mindset podcast. Mindset is so important. I've got to be keen, eager, deliver, learn, be a sponge. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be exciting. Friends of mine and family all say they think it's the right move, which is great. So the sort of one of the biggest tears in this whole situation, which is probably why it's taken me 2 weeks to get to a decision, was more money versus promotion sooner. The current company which I've resigned from offered promotion next time round, which is about 6 months' time. Probably will take me longer. It will take me longer in the new company. But said a couple of times, no regrets. The other thing I said a couple of times is it was a life choice rather than a career choice. And I think you need to just think about those sorts of decisions. So if I'm going to recap and just sort of say my thought process, what made me came to the conclusion, breaking it down a couple of different ways, speaking to key people, mentor, friends, key friends. It's not just chatting to the bloke you speak in the pub with. That's not good enough. Key family members, whoever those key people are, you need to bounce the idea around. So if it's a wife, girlfriend, partner, whatever it is, they're critical for this. I think you then, it's very hard to be honest with yourself when you're put in a situation in this. If you moved around a couple of times, then it's probably not that big a deal, but situation I found myself in, it was really hard to be honest, because people have perceptions of you, people have formed their own opinions of you, and things that I talked about 2 years ago now are not as relevant as they were. It's weird, like how 2 years can change. Now I've talked extensively, and I haven't talked anything about it on this one, but I'm just going to mention it now. The bereavement, the deaths in my family in the last 4 months or so have had a major impact on me. One of the things that I wanted to do was to change my life. So thought about a couple of different ways. one of the ways I can't change my home life. I have a family, I have a wife, I have kids, I have mortgage. Everything is settled, everything is stable. The one thing that I could change was my career, was my job. So I wanted the death of my mother to be significant, and one of the ways that I wanted it to be significant was to make a change in my life that would have an impact and say, well, 2019, 18, 19, my mum died, and I changed. It changed me. It has changed me massively. But I changed. I evolved with it as well as that change. So that was big for me. And I whether you've had something major, impactful like this, I think you reassess your life and reassess where you're going, what you're doing, how you're doing it, when you're doing it. How you do it, I think, is something you know. If you're successful and you've trodden on people all the time, you're going to be an a-hole. If you've been respectful, if you've been good, polite, deliver, be a good guy, be a nice guy. I don't believe nice guys can't be successful. I've seen it in my career, in the company that I work for that I've just left. Nice people, good people are successful. So the sort of cutthroat business, yes, you have to be cutthroat to a point, but it's also you got to be respectful for people, give people the benefit of their doubt, but don't be naive. That's one of the things that I've learned and sort of grown up in the last couple of years, is making that change to stop the naivety. I don't think I was necessarily majorly naive, but being able to change and evolve and be a bit harder, more resilient, more robust, is something that I'm really proud of as a person, as a businessman, as an employee. I'm very proud of how strong I've become. Basically, everything gets thrown up in the air again when you go to a new company. But I'm hoping my strength, my resilience, my robustness will take me into the new role and prove to be part of my strength and part of my resilience of being able to deliver in that new role. So, you do need to speak to people, but don't just go speaking to anyone. You need to speak to those key people that love you, care for you, want you to succeed. And you just need to bash it around. If it's hard, you need to bash it around harder. It's a hard decision to make. You need to bash it around harder. So work is important, and what you do is important. The mindset, the how you do it is critical. And so I would say you need to think about that always. How you want to be remembered, how you want no regrets, you don't want people to have a particular view on you. So it was a hard decision, and I'm happy with my decision. This all happens now at the end of May. So we are in March, start of March, so I've got a 3-month notice period. So there's a lot of time to do handovers and share my knowledge, my experience, and get ready for that new role. So that's a good thing and a bad thing. I would say if anyone's toying with this idea, who's in a similar situation to me, is be open. And I think that's one of the things that I got open on the job, leaving and being in a different company. And you've always got to be open to new ideas, because you've got to evolve, you've got to innovate. You can't just stay in one position or one role or anything. So always think about iterating, innovating, improving. And that's in yourself, in your business, in your as an employee, whatever it is. So big thing, guys. It was a big. I've done a little bit on social media, a big reveal. Hopefully, you feel that it is a big reveal. As I say, I'm a corporate employee with an entrepreneurial mindset, and therefore it is big for me. So I'm going to finish up there. Any questions, message me on social media. Happy to DM you, or if you've got any questions about my experience that I've gone through. If you've got any comments, then by all means leave it on over this iTunes or Stitcher or wherever, Spotify, wherever. Please do leave a message. Would love to hear what you think I've done well, what I've done badly, and equally, it would be great to get people's views on my experiences, and hopefully you guys can learn from my experiences and build yourself a little bit better and be a better person and improve. So check me out on Twitter, Instagram, impacting Instagram a bit at the moment. You can get this on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, on YouTube. You can see my video on YouTube, which is here. And just check me out wherever you can find me. As I say, thoughts, ideas, comments would be valued on my experience.